There are things in this world most people will never see. They watch from the shadows. They listen in the darkness. And sometimes, someone is brave enough to call them. But what happens when one answers? Would you be ready? Today's story is Spirit of Life Calling. Let's begin. Episode 1. What are you doing? Where am I? A man asked, as two men practically carried him, while they passed through a long, stretched-out, dark hallway. Answer me. After some time, the man is tossed into a dark room, with candles positioned around the room, placed where they should have provided enough light. It was eerily dark and ominously quiet. "Ah, dinner." A deep, chivalrous male voice spoke. His voice echoed in the quiet room as the frightened man looked around to find him. "Don't fuck with me," the man yelled out. "I was in the slammer once. I'll go back again," he threatened. A laugh echoed around him before it became hysterical. My. They sure know how to pick them. Don't they, my love? At that moment, a grinding sound was heard. The man spun to look in the direction, but only saw darkness before his screams transferred through the hallway. Present day, the day I met her. "Hello there. I'm Art. Art Green, to be exact. I know, laugh it up, but it's the truth, that's my name. Funny enough, it's the name of the founding family that established the first church in this city. Serenity Green. Catchy, right?" Art said before dropping his recorder and hurrying to pick it up. "Oh, do you still work? Let's see." Art pondered as he walked while fiddling with the recorder. The recorder clicked several times in his hands. The small screen flickered on, then went dark. Art frowned and pressed the button again. Click. Nothing. He tapped the side of it against his palm. "Come on." Another click. The screen finally came back to life. Art glanced down at it while continuing forward, his thumb moving across the buttons as he tried to figure out which setting he had accidentally changed. The tiny red recording symbol appeared for a moment before disappearing again. No, that's not it. He pressed another button. A faint burst of static crackled from the recorder. Art immediately pulled it away from his ear. Okay, definitely not that one. He continued walking. The neighborhood around him slowly changed as he moved farther down the street. The smaller storefronts and crowded sidewalks gave way to older buildings with tall windows and weathered brick. Some buildings had fresh paint and bright signs, while others looked as though they had been standing there for generations without anyone bothering to replace a single stone. Morning sunlight slipped between the buildings, casting long patches of warmth across the sidewalk. A light breeze carried the smell of freshly baked bread from a nearby shop, mixing with the faint scent of rain still clinging to the pavement. Cars passed along the street, their tires hissing over damp patches of road. A bus groaned to a stop at the corner before releasing a group of people onto the sidewalk. Somewhere nearby, a crossing signal chirped repeatedly. Then came the distant sound of children. Laughter, shouting, the squeak of shoes against pavement. A school sat somewhere beyond the row of buildings, hidden from view, but close enough that the sounds carried through the morning air. Art barely looked up. His attention remained on the recorder. He pressed another button. The screen flickered. "Please." He pressed it again. A faint red light appeared. Art smiled for half a second. Then the light disappeared. His smile vanished. "Seriously, He shook the recorder once and continued walking. The farther he went, the quieter the street became. The traffic remained behind him, slowly fading into the background beneath the sound of his footsteps. The buildings grew older, their architecture becoming more elaborate as stone pillars, iron railings, and decorative windows began appearing along the street. At the end of the block, something rose above the surrounding buildings. A tall stone steeple. Art looked up. The Serenity Green Church stood beyond the intersection, its pale stone walls catching the morning light. Dark green vines climbed parts of its outer walls, weaving around old carvings that had been worn smooth by years of weather. Tall arched windows stretched along the front of the building, their colored glass reflecting faint pieces of sunlight onto the steps below. Even from across the street, the church looked older than everything surrounding it. Much older. Art slowed for a moment. He looked at the recorder, then at the church. He quietly sighed and tucked the recorder closer to his chest. The large wooden doors stood open. People entered and exited through them. Some dressed formally, others casually. A few stood near the steps, speaking quietly among themselves, while others hurried inside as though they were already late. Above the entrance was the name carved into the stone. Serenity Green. Art stared at it for a moment before looking away. He started toward the stairs. The sounds of the city continued behind him, cars, distant voices, a passing siren. But the closer he came to the church, the more those sounds seemed to fade beneath the quiet murmur coming from inside. Art reached the bottom step. He glanced down at his recorder one last time. The screen was finally working. "Oh, thank God," he said, hurrying up the stairs, skipping 2 steps at a time, trying to move faster. Once inside, he acknowledged everyone happily. "Good day. Good day. Oh, hello, good day. Good day, good." Art was happily greeting everyone until he noticed the dead-eyed priest approaching him. His expression immediately changed, forcing him to straighten up and clear his throat. "Good day, sir. Did you finish it?" The man interrupted him. Now standing before him, the priest's presence felt overwhelming. No, no, sir, I told you to have it done before you returned here. You think today is a game, a joke." The man spoke firmly. "No, sir, Excuses. I have no time for it. You may carry the last name of the founder of this place. That will not protect you from what you will have to do today. Everything depends on whether or not you can cut it. And many don't. Some do, but are too traumatized to continue. The lucky bastards," he said in disgust before turning his attention toward the sermon. "Everyone is so damn lucky," he said before giving Art the side eye. "Have that recording done in the next 5 minutes, or I'll come get you without it," he said before entering the room full of people to sit and watch the sermon continue. Art was quiet, upset with himself, before walking to a room not far from the entrance, locking the door to ensure no one could interrupt him. He went inside and sat down, staring at his recorder before turning it back on. "Hello. Hi. I'm Art. Art Green. Like the well." He paused and sighed. "I was optimistic, but did Priest Zach really have to put the fear of God on me?" He chuckled quietly to himself, though there was sadness in his voice. Before he spoke to the recorder again. "I'm Art Green, and this may be my last recording. I hope I return tonight. I hope I return in full. I hope." He paused, getting emotional before sniffling to compose himself. I hope my other recordings, if I don't, will be good enough information for the next person after me. May you succeed where I failed and become the best guardian out there. Please don't lose who you are when you do. Art said quietly before turning off the recorder, wiping his eyes and taking a deep breath. He shook his body to hype himself up before standing and leaving the room to find Priest Zach. His steps sounded heavier as he walked to him. When in view of the room, he noticed everyone was gone. Priest Zach, still staring at the podium, spoke. Saw them too, huh? Well, guess that means you passed the first trial already. Congratulations, he said gruffly, his tone dripping with sarcasm. You can see spectators now. He sighed tiredly. The last trial is summoning one, he said, standing up and looking at Art before extending his hand. Last chance, kid. Art looked at Priest Zach's hand, then at the recorder, before giving Priest Zach the recorder. Ha, the smart ones are always stupid. He put the recorder away in his pocket. Follow me, he said, as he walked more so into the room, before standing at the confessional and speaking. Go and see, come and seek, he said, as a latch unlocked from behind them across the way. A door appeared and opened, with sighs and whispers seeping through the opening like a dense fog. Remember, focus on me. There are different spectators down there, both good and bad, he said as he started walking. Can't have you die on me before entering the room. Art, visibly freaked out and trembling, ran to catch up to Priest Zach as he tripped on himself. Once inside, the doors closed behind him as the whispers and sighs intensified, forming a figure in front of Art as he was staring at the closed door. He gasped and hurried behind Priest Zach, mumbling words to himself quietly. Footsteps echoed through the space of a long, stretched-out, dark hallway, until they reached the room. Art looked around, seeing it was extremely dark with candles positioned around the room, each one placed where they should have provided enough light. Don't worry. No one knows why the room is so dark. It just is. Now, stay here, speak the words, and see which spectator will heed your call. Remember, you can't leave until tomorrow. He lifted his arm to jiggle his wrist in showing his watch. He clicked a button as a timer set. Your 24 hours starts now. May you die well or live peacefully, he said before leaving Art alone. And once again, the door moved on its own and closed itself with a heavy thud. Art breathed heavily as he was trembling. Okay. The training. Focus, Art, focus. The training. He breathed deeply and closed his eyes. One by one, the candles went out, moving closer toward him. Please hear me. Our world is full of tents that seek to destroy everything here. Please, help me stop them. Help me protect everyone. More candles blew out one by one before stopping as he opened his eyes. My name is Art Green. Help me become a guardian. He spoke sincerely out loud as whispers and ghostly laughter grew louder around him. Take him. No, he's a child. Child or no, he must be punished. Punish. Protect. No. Yes. No. Yes. Each voice spoke around him as they gripped and pulled. The candles, one by one, were going out immediately towards him. Until Hashratol. 3 voices spoke as one. Each voice carried a different pitch. Its voice echoed and boomed in a dialect he couldn't understand. The sheer force caused the spectators to flee and leave him. He covered his ears as pain pulsed through them. Each second that passed, the sound grew louder like a siren, causing him to black out. Before long, he woke slowly and hurried to crawl towards the closed door for cover. He looked ahead of him. Only 2 candles remained lit in front of him. He panicked as he looked around. I trained for this. I want to help people. Why? Why punish me for wanting that? He yelled out. After a moment, a heavy sigh emitted from the distance, until a candle lit. Then another. Now 5 candles were lit. 6, 7, 8, 9. There was a pause. Then 8 more ignited in quick succession. Art looked concerned and held his arms up in protection. Back away, Gree. The voice spoke again, causing him to cover his eyes and scream from the pain as the room shook from the force. Fingers snapped and everything went still and quiet. Art breathed heavily. I don't understand you. Please. Stop. It hurts. He yelled out as he looked around. The voice hummed but remained silent. Art realized it understood him and he slowly, weakly stood up, using the closed door for support. Please, I want to help people. I want to ensure no one suffers at the hands of those monsters out there. Please, please, I beg you, help me. He spoke in defeat and heard nothing back. Time passed, as the candles shook, causing Art to jolt awake in fear as he saw the darkness getting pulled towards the middle of the room, forming a dark ball that shaped to an obscure figure hovering. Then gusts of wind pulled from all corners toward the center. A set of glowing golden eyes appeared within the wind, watching him ominously. As Art struggled to maintain his footing, he hurried and latched onto the door handle as a small tornado formed. He grunted and screamed as he held on. The pull from the wind increased as the ceiling slowly turned cloudy and thunderous, as if he were outside. Thunder and lightning intensified as the wind whipped around like a hurricane. Whispers from other spectators could be heard throughout the room, while the tornado tightened within itself, forcing the wind pulling to cease suddenly, until Art fell to the ground in a thud face first. Ouch. He panted and turned around slowly in pain. As he looked up and saw a black woman with black hair floating around her in what appeared to be a black, flowing, long dress. She floated down slowly. Her skin slowly turned a hazelnut brown. Her body plumped to a full size as more of her features were revealed. Her eyes were closed. Her expression was neutral. She continued to hover just above the ground. Art watched in confusion and fear, taking in the scene of a thunderstorm above this mysterious floating woman. Slowly, she descended. The thunderstorms and whispers of invisible spectators lessened. And once her feet touched the ground, the room finally lit up. Everything appeared normal. Nothing seemed odd or ominous at all. The longer the room remained normal, the longer Art relaxed a bit. He stared at her in complete wonder and awe, before cautiously standing to look at her clearly. He inched closer. Miss. He looked her over again. Miss. He asked quietly as he thought to himself for a moment. Is she even a miss? He questioned. Wait. He paused and looked around and was taken aback by what he was now recognizing. The room. When did the room? It isn't black anymore, he said to himself finally in acknowledgement, as he looked around briefly. noticing the regular decorum of the empty yet opulent room. The room is always black. That's what he taught me. He spoke to himself before he jumped back defensively. You must be an evil spectator in disguise. He braced himself for an attack. The woman didn't move or open her eyes. Answer me, he yelled, as she continued to not move or look at him. He stared at her in suspicion. Okay, you're not moving. He paused, his brows furrowed at the situation, as he thought about his training, remembering what he was taught when able to call upon a spectator. Okay. He breathed nervously. Come. He hesitated, then cleared his throat. Come and seek. Seek and go. Together as. He hesitated again. Together as. Spectator and. Guardian. He spoke the last words quietly while watching her. Yet nothing happened. He let out a shaky breath that he didn't know he was holding in, breathing to compose himself. Then her hands twitched in a series of crackling noises. He froze and slowly looked at her. His expression was frightened. Her hands twitched again and moved this time as she inhaled deeply. Her bones popped and cracked upon her stretching out. She let out a content-long sigh, smoke leaving her mouth, like her breath was on fire. Slowly, opening her golden, glowing eyes. It started to dim, into a dark brown color to see him finally. Human, allow me to introduce myself. She spoke in a drawn-out, dual mezzo voice that slowly became singular. Her voice fluctuated between mid-highs and mid-lows, like her voice didn't know which to be in the moment. I'm Leroheath, and you must be. She paused and chuckled lightly, as she gracefully extended her hand elegantly to him. That had long golden nails, that looked sharp like knives. My guardian. This concludes episode 1.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to tune back in next week, where more stories and continuations will be added. Remember, every story begins with a dream and grows from an imagination. Dream beautifully, everyone.